Are you mean to yourself inside your head? If so, this video is for you. One of the things I notice about ADHD women is that a lot of us have this really negative inner critic, or some people might say negative self talk. And we come by this honestly, and I want to unpack that in this video and talk about how to work with it. So let's get into it. The thing is a lot of us with ADHD, whether or not we knew we had it or were diagnosed or it was recognized, received extra criticism, correction, and negative commentary about our ADHD, even if we didn't know it was ADHD. Even those of us who masked through overfunctioning and high achievement still received that correction, criticism, and negative commentary because sometimes our ADHD still came out. For example, while I was an excellent student, did really well in school, every single report card I had said excellent student, super conscientious, and talks too much, needs to learn how not to interrupt and wait her turn to talk, all that kind of stuff, right? Also, lots of correction and negative commentary about the state of my locker. Amazing, I could find stuff. And the state of my bedroom. At one point, my mom finally was just like, you know what? I don't care. Just keep your shit out of like the main house. I don't think she said shit, but keep your stuff out of the main house, like our house and your little bedroom. You can have it be a hot mess if you want to, but that's fine. As long as isn't disrupting my life, it's totally up to you what you want to do with your space, which was awesome, but there was still the negative commentary and criticism. So I suspect that my experience is not unique. And if you weren't an overfunctioner, high achiever, then you probably got even more criticism and complaint that you weren't living up to your potential, or if you just tried harder, or whatever. And so all of us got this extra negative commentary, correction, because these adults in our lives, a lot of times, most of the time, I believe, I think, I hope, were well-meaning. They were trying to help us function in the world, and we weren't doing it the way the world does it, and they were just trying to help with that. What they didn't realize is that our brains work differently and that we actually needed to learn our own neurodivergent skills, our ADHD skills for navigating the world in a way that would work for us, rather than them trying to mold us into a neurotypical version of ADHD. And unfortunately, this is what happened a lot, that mold. And so a lot of us ended up with anxiety because we masked all the time. And a lot of us maybe even ended up depressed because we felt disconnected from ourselves because when you're masking, you don't really know what you want or who you are anymore. And so because of all of this, we have ended up with this inner chatter that I refer to as parts from my IFS training. We have these parts of us that continue the work of that criticism, correction, and negative commentary. And it sounds wild that it would do that. It's like, why would we do that to ourselves? Well, here's why. When we were young, we had parts of us trying to avoid getting criticized more. And so these parts try and beat everyone to the punch. Because if we can criticize ourselves first, then no one else has the opportunity to because we course correct before anyone can. Or people see that we're so hard on ourselves that they're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't possibly say mean, nasty stuff. I mean, sometimes they still do. But this part of us thinks that is what's going to happen because sometimes that is what happens. And there may be other reasons too, I want to say, why a part of you would continue its job as an inner critic. But a lot of times it's about keeping you safe from other people criticizing you and making sure you do your shit, that you don't fall apart. But when we get to the bottom of it and understand like, what does not do my shit mean and what does fall apart mean? This part has learned that the only way to get you to do stuff is to criticize because that's what other people did. But that's not actually true. I remember when I was in my 20s in therapy and long before I knew I had ADHD, I just thought I had anxiety and depression. And my therapist was like, oh, yeah, you just got this inner critic is there. You just got to have them leave. And I was like, no, my anxiety is what's helped me get stuff done. If my anxiety and my inner critic go away, I won't do anything. I'll just sit on the couch. She was right. I was wrong, thankfully. But that's the fear of this part, that if it stops criticizing us, if it stops beating us up, if it stops being worried all the time about messing up, that then we're not going to do anything. And so there's some space for you then, or an invitation perhaps, for you to work with that part and for you to figure out how you would do things if not constantly criticized from the inside. In fact, I suspect if you didn't have that inner critic constantly beating you up, you might actually be more motivated and more productive. So, just a little dip into what it looks like to shift our self talk and work with our inner critic. I'd love to hear in the comments what landed for you in this, what questions you have. Make sure to leave a comment. And if you're not already, subscribe. I'll see you next time.